Excitement mounts for Tottenham's first proper pre-season friendly today. Meanwhile, Napoli are apparently willing to go big to sign one of Spurs' most important players. The Conor Gallagher rumours have heated up again, and Big Ange Postecoglou gives his thoughts on Tottenham's new Wonderkids. All this and more in today's Tottenham Hotspur news on the Spurs On podcast. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. As ever, please do press that subscribe button. Press the like button too, really helps it get up the algorithm and get seen by more people. And if you'd like to become a Spurred On Pro member or Patreon member, all the details in the description box below. Only £1 a month and really helps me make this daily content for you. But starting with the news that Napoli apparently are obsessed with signing Depays Kulusevski, the club returning for the winger and considering an approach for the Spurs player. That's according to Calcio Mercato in Italy. Now, I wanted to talk about this because perhaps not the most reputable source of all time, but is Depays Kulusevski a player? If we got the correct amount of money in a bid from someone like Napoli, would you be willing to let him go? Let me know in the comments box below. I know that a lot of fans are frustrated by Kulusevski's lack of pace and perhaps an element of his game that is a little bit transparent. Obviously, when he first came to Spurs, after I think maybe a difficult opening game and a half off the subs bench, he actually ripped it up in his first few games under Antonio Conte. His first kind of 8-10 games, scored a lot of goals, and that was because a lot of the Premier League defenders didn't know much about him, didn't know how desperate he always was to cut in on his left. For me, Kulusevski, for his age, I think he's still 22, 23 years old, an unbelievable talent, a technically brilliant player. And if we get the players around him in the Spurs team, more creativity and more pace, then I think he can go from strength to strength. I've talked before, I think he could also potentially play as a false 9. He can definitely play in the 10. And Ange does like his wingers to sometimes cut in from the outside as well. And Kulusevski, there are actually few players better at him than cutting in off the right and whipping in a great cross. And if we have Richarlison fit and firing in the number 9, then we know those crosses can cause havoc and a lot of goals. So for me, I would want to keep Kulusevski unless we got a bid of something completely ridiculous, like doubling the money that we paid for him. So I'm looking at kind of upwards of 55 million, 60 million pounds, which we're not going to get from Napoli realistically. Unless we got something like that, I wouldn't be willing to let him go. I think he is a talent who is going to only get better and better. But let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, onwards to that Conor Gallagher rumour. It's getting a bit boring, isn't it? But it's come back again yesterday. The Athletic say that Spurs are still likely to make a move for Gallagher, with Chelsea valuing him at 40 to 50 million pounds. For me, I basically want to stop talking about him. Yes, he hasn't signed a new contract, so his value is going to continue to decline day by day, and that is why Spurs are interested in him, because he's a homegrown player and he is an England international. He's got legs in midfield. He's a good presser. But I just don't think Spurs are going to make any move for him, if at all, until the end of this transfer window, potentially January, or going for him on a free next summer. But I think if he's available on a free next summer, there'll be other clubs from around Europe interested in him. It's already been said that Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid is up for getting Conor Gallagher in this summer. So for me, I don't think we need to talk too much about Gallagher anymore. Spurs are going to trigger a 1-year contract extension for HeungMin this summer, keeping him at the club until 2026. His current deal expires in 2025, but the captain's contract will be extended by a further 12 months. Some rumours of potential outgoings. Leicester City, having taken Harry Winks off us 18 months or so ago, a year or so ago, they're now plotting a move for Oliver Skipp. Makes sense to me. I could totally see Oliver Skipp going to Leicester City. I got a little bit of flack in the comments, some lovely comments from you guys, but a little bit of pushback yesterday about saying that Oliver Skipp needs rhythm to play and that the managers don't give him enough of a chance. Well, for me, it's just that he doesn't get enough games in his legs. He never quite gets up to, like I said, up to the rhythm of the Premier League. But I could see him doing well at Leicester. Obviously, if he was to play alongside Harry Winks in midfield, that would be a pretty small and lightweight midfield. But I do think he'd get game time there, and I do think that could work well for him. In terms of one of our big top names on our list, Desiree Doué, apparently Paris Saint-Germain have offered 40 million euros plus 10 million euros in extras and add-ons for him. That's according to Pletty-Goal. Is that a bid that you could see Spurs matching? And even if they did, would Desiree Doué go to Spurs above PSG? Seems unlikely. Alistair Gold has announced what the initial bid was from Milan that Spurs have rejected out of hand for Emerson Royal. It's £8.4 million. That's 10 million euros. Apparently that was a verbal bid first that was rejected, and then later a bid that was submitted formally and rejected again. Tottenham are looking for double that, 20 million euros, about 16 million pounds. For me, I've said it, I'll say it again. split the difference. Let's take about £13 million for Emerson Royale, say thank you very much, you're not the defender for Ange Postecoglou, and we move on. Meanwhile, Jed Spence and Sergio Reguilon have been training with the first team squad this pre-season, but they were not included in the squad for the friendly at Cambridge because their futures lie elsewhere, and they've been told that. And so that suggests, according to Alistair Gold, they will not be involved in tonight's friendly against Hearts. Lucas Bergvall, I'll talk more about Lucas in a minute or so, but he will be wearing the number 15 this season, and I'm pretty sure that Archie Gray, our other new wonder kid, will be wearing number 14. So if you like those players, you want to get their names on your shirts, they are the squad numbers. Meanwhile, Tottenham have released a documentary on Spurs play. Not a big surprise, because what Spurs want from Spurs play, their kind of online portal, is for people to sign up for about 50 quid, I think it is. I think it was a year ago when I signed up. And then you get all of the pre-season friendlies on there. There's other content as well, but Spurs really trying to drive that up by releasing a documentary about the start of pre-season. But some quotes from from Ange Postecoglou and some of the players from that documentary. Ange Postecoglou started by saying, from a coaching perspective, we've all come back with a real determination to build on what we started last year. We lost our way towards the end of last season, I felt. With that, it's about learning from it. But overall, there's enough good stuff for us to have a good platform to push on. What do you think about those comments? I think Ange Postecoglou was very open and honest last season about saying this first season is about learning how we're going to play, and the second season is about pushing on and starting to challenge. Now, that is putting a lot of pressure on himself from Ange Postecoglou, and I think it's fair to say, and a lot of you guys are saying in the comments section on my videos, that you're disappointed with how few signings we've made. I mean, for me, I said it yesterday, I'll say it again, I think we've got to get players out of the club before we can bring players in. But it is, I understand, frustrating for a lot of fans when they see that Aston Villa, I think, have already bought maybe 6 or 7 players in this summer. They've released a few players as well, as in let a few players go, including Douglas Luiz, of course. But you're seeing other clubs making early moves, and that's not happening at Spurs. But I do think we have to wait, because we've got a lot of dead wood that Ange does not want in his squad. Ange was also asked about our new Wonderkids, Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall. He said, you can see that both of them are already really enjoying being here. On Archie Gray, he said he was outstanding last year, probably the outstanding young player in the Championship, which is not an easy league, we know. I was super pleased that the club were able to do the deal in the end. Was the in the end line a little bit of a sly dig at Spurs being slow in the transfer market? You decide. He also went on to say he's a great kid, super young player, but also a great attitude. On Lucas Bergvall, Ange said this. He said he's chomping at the bit to get over here. Sorry, he's been chomping at the bit to get over here. He's over here now, obviously. He's come in and looked really good in training. I'm pleased to have him as part of the group. We knew that he would have a great deal to offer. He's a great young player, but he also has a real good appetite for work and wanting to improve. Meanwhile, Ange, Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall answered some questions on Reddit yesterday. So here are some of those answers that they gave. They were asked, Lucas and Archie were asked, what celebrations are you going to do after your first goals at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? They said we'll both do a knee slide. Bergvall and Gray were, Ange was asked, do Bergvall and Gray have preferred positions that they've enjoyed playing in the most? And he said Lucas prefers to play a number 8 like a box to box, and the same with Archie, but both don't mind about where they play. Well, we know Archie Gray can also play right back. He played right back a lot for Leeds last season, and I wonder whether Lucas Bergvall might challenge Yves Bissouma for that kind of 6 role. It's not an official 6, really, is it? I just mean 6 in terms of always getting the ball off the centre-backs and the keeper on the half-turn. Bergvall definitely has the technical attributes to do that. Bergvall and Archie Gray were asked, who do you think is the funniest teammate? Archie Gray said, definitely Fraser Forster. Lucas Bergvall said, Bissouma, so much energy and a great guy. I really hope Bissouma comes back this season with the energy he showed in that first 10 games. It really dropped off after that, which was disappointing. But he is one of the great players in that role around when he has the confidence and the energy. Meanwhile, yesterday, I think disappointingly, Tottenham introduced and launched their new shirt sleeve sponsor, which is Kraken. The club said the club's first ever official crypto and Web3 partner and the official sleeve partner for our men's and women's team. Now, why am I disappointed that it's crypto? I'll tell you why, mainly. Because so many crypto companies have invested large sums of money in sports teams and other sponsorship deals and then gone bust and not paid what they said they would pay. So it's always a bit of a risk. And on the back of, obviously, the betting company as our training kit sponsor, I just think it's a bit disappointing that Tottenham are just going for wherever the money is at the moment. And I do have a fear that it may come back to bite them. And in fact, the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust board have released a statement about Kraken being the club's official shirt sleeve sponsor. They said this: the THST board is disappointed to read today that the new sleeve partner for the men's and women's first team is a crypto platform. This follows a worrying trend towards funding by cryptocurrency companies and betting companies. Football clubs have a unique position within society, benefiting from a lifetime of loyalty from their supporters. This should not be taken for granted, and the responsibility that comes with it should not be underestimated. Because the club promotes these names, supporters could understandably assume that Spurs are endorsing the products and the habits they develop in their users, essentially saying that they are not putting fans at risk. We understand that the club need to secure sponsorship and would love to think that funding would one day be reflected in lower price rises for loyal fans. However, we would urge Spurs to seek sponsors whose products do not lure their own supporters into taking financial risks that they can ill afford. I think that's a beautifully written statement from the THST. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I will try to answer all of you in the comments, of course, as I always do. I definitely concur when it comes to the betting companies. When it comes to crypto, obviously dangerous investments in currency types that are very, very up and down. It is a very dangerous thing to do, and I can completely understand why the THST say it's a risk to imagine that kind of supporters may think that the club are suggesting to you that these are viable platforms that will always be healthy for you. And crypto is not necessarily a healthy type of financing, and obviously betting is very dangerous, and there's so much betting sponsorship around football at the moment, and of course fans are basically persuaded to think that it's more fun if you put a bet on it. So yeah, dangerous times when it comes to Spurs grabbing the money. And obviously still, we have not found a sponsor for the stadium. Daniel Levy's still waiting for that big brand to come in. And I do fear that with him seemingly being willing to take the money from any type of brand at the moment, that it may not end up being a brand that we're all happy with. Some more Spurs news. Jermain Defoe has announced that he's leaving his coaching role at Tottenham in order to take the next steps in his coaching career. This will, of course, be the third time, I think, that Jermain Defoe has left the club. But he wrote a lovely message on his Instagram. He said, "For the past 2 seasons, I've thoroughly enjoyed my coaching time at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Today, I leave this incredible club, and I want to say thank you to all the amazing people in the building who have helped me learn and grow. It has been a pleasure to achieve so much at Spurs, including reaching my UEFA A coaching status, which was always an ambition of mine, following my playing career. Spurs will always hold a special place in my heart, and the fans already know how much the club means to me. However, now is the right time for me to move on and shape the rest of my coaching and managerial career. Nevertheless, I will forever remember my time at Spurs fondly. All great journeys come to an end, and I wish everyone at the club nothing but the best for the coming season and the future. Until next time." So that's a lovely message from Jermain Defoe. As I said, I think that's basically the third time he's left Spurs now. He said until next time at the end. Is he lining himself up to be a Tottenham manager or a Tottenham assistant coach of the future? Very possibly, I think. If you're too young to remember Jermain Defoe as a striker for Spurs, he had 2 spells and he was a lethal finisher. Compared so much to Ian Wright back in the day, Arsenal's unbelievable finisher. Defoe's one-touch and finishes were just exceptional. He had a brilliant relationship on the pitch anyway with Robbie Keane and a number of other strikers. And he's up there in our top 10, maybe even our top 5 list of all-time scorers for Tottenham. So I hope his managerial/coaching career goes well, and really pleased that he was able to send us that really great message. Okay, guys, that's been the Tottenham Hotspur news on the Spurred On podcast. Please do press that like button, press subscribe, and press the bell button too, so you know you will get notifications when I release my daily content. First preseason game against Hearts tonight. Excited to see players like Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall, Jamie Donnelly, Mikey Moore, of course, some of our young talent, whilst we wait for a lot of the international players to come back. Should be a good game. You can watch it on Spurs Play, and I'll talk a little bit more about it over the next day or two. Don't forget to press that subscribe button, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Come on, you Spurs.